Hello Year 3 and welcome back to day 3 of our guided reading, which means we are on our inference questions. Now remember, inference means that we have to do a little bit more thinking and a little bit more digging into the text. So those keywords in our questions will still come in really handy, but they might not be literally written in the text for us. We do need to give our answers a little bit more thought. But I will go through that with you. Firstly, we are going to go through our vocabulary, then you have your vocabulary activity, then we will read the text and then we will go through the questions. Now, you don't need any worksheets for this lesson. You just need something to write with and a piece of paper, and I will explain how to do the tasks when we get to them. So first off, I'm going to share my screen with you so I can go through the vocabulary. And just a reminder, we are reading Roald Dahl's The BFG, Big Friendly Giant, all about Sophie and her adventures with a giant who she meets one curious night. So I have my picture. You should be well versed in what these mean. So I'm going to give you 5 seconds for you to say out loud what the word is. So 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Hopefully, because I can't hear you, but I'm sure you said it nice and loud, you said spurt or spurt, which is a verb, something you can do. It's an action, like a spurt of water. And that means to move off with sudden speed, so very quick, jerky movement. Okay, next up. 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. The word was hesitate. Again, another verb, something you can do, and I'm going to give you 5 seconds to say out loud to yourself what you think that word means. Okay, so it means to pause, so to stop shortly before an action because you're unsure. So you take a moment to think about whether you're going to continue. Okay, next word. 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good. The word is slice or slicing, another verb because it's something that you can do. It's an action. And just like in that picture there, it means to cut something into thin, flat pieces. Okay, next word. Look at what the arrow is pointing to, and in 5 seconds, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good. The word is slant or slanting. So if you slant something, it is a verb, or if it is described as being slanted or slanting, it's an adjective. And it means, just like in that picture there, to slope, so to go down in one direction. So I always think of a hill being like a slope, and that is also on a slant. Okay, so 5 seconds for this one. What is this picture showing you in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1? Good. The word is crooked. It's an adjective, a describing word to mean, just like in that picture, something that is bent or twisted out of shape, so not straight. Anything that's not straight, and as long as it's not curved, you can say is crooked. Okay, this picture here, how would you describe the weather in this picture? You would describe it as 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Misty. And because I said the word describe, hopefully you know that's an adjective, and it means to be unclear because of fog. But I wonder if anyone can remember why I would describe somebody as being misty-eyed. So give yourselves a few seconds to think about that. Okay, so moving on. We are now going to do your vocabulary starters. So this should look slightly familiar to what you used to do. You used to join these up with lines. Now what I've done is given you the first part of a sentence and then given you 3 options of how to end the sentence. So all you have to do is just write whether you would choose 1, 2, or 3. You can, if you want, write out the sentence, but you would have to pause the video and do that in your own time. So if you do wish to do that, to give yourself some practice of writing sentences, pause the video and then press play when you want to go on to the next question. I'm going to go through all the questions and then do the answers at the end. So all you have to do is write the number if you wish for your answer. So first one, the grass had spurted up between the bricks. 1, will correct crooked teeth. 2, so that you don't have to do it yourself. Or 3, since the last time it had been cut. So write down the number you would go for to complete that sentence. Okay, next one. At the beginning of the year. 1, so that you don't have to do it yourself. 2, so the bookcase was slanted against the wall. Or 3, the teacher hesitated before saying newly learnt names. So which one would you go for to complete the sentence, right? 1, 2, or 3. Or again, like I said, if you are writing out the full sentence, pause the video and press play when you are ready to go to the next one. Okay, the sky was unusually misty. 1, for this time of year. 2, so the bookcase was slanted against the wall. Or 3, will correct crooked teeth. 1, 2, or 3, what completes the sentence? Okay, next one. The floor of the room was uneven. 1, so the bookcase was slanted against the wall. 2, will correct crooked teeth. Or 3, since the last time it had been cut. Okay, let's go to the next one. Wearing braces when you are young. 1, so this bookcase was slanted against the wall. 2, will correct crooked teeth. Or 3, since the last time it had been cut. Which one completes the sentence? Okay. There is a machine which slices bread. 1, will correct crooked teeth. 2, since the last time it had been cut. Or 3, so that you don't have to do it yourself. Which one completes the sentence? So just write the number. But if you are writing out the full sentence, then you will need to pause the video before pressing play, because I'm going to go through the answers. So the first one we had was the grass had spurted up between the bricks. The answer was 3, since the last time it had been cut. Secondly, at the beginning of the year. Number 3, the teacher hesitated before saying newly learnt names. The sky was unusually misty. Number 1, for this time of year. The floor of the room was uneven, so the bookcase was slanted against the wall. Number 1 again. Wearing braces when you are young. Number 2, will correct crooked teeth. And then lastly, there is a machine which slices bread. Number 3, so that you don't have to do it yourself. Okay, so now that we have gone through our vocabulary and our starter, I am now going to read you the text extract, which is the first 3 pages of the BFG. So again, you can just watch the video and follow along with me, or you have the text uploaded onto your home learning worksheet, so you can use that however is best for you. So, Sophie couldn't sleep. A brilliant moonbeam was slanting through a gap in the curtains. It was shining right onto her pillow. The other children in the dormitory had been asleep for hours, so that makes me think it's very late in the night. Sophie closed her eyes and lay quite still. She tried very hard to doze off. It was no good. The moonbeam was like a silver blade slicing through the room onto her face, so that makes me think it's like a sharp beam of light. The house was absolutely silent. No voices came up from downstairs. There were no footsteps on the floor above either. The window behind the curtain was wide open, but nobody was walking on the pavement outside. No cars went by on the street. Not the tiniest sound could be heard anywhere. Sophie had never known such a silence. So I might describe this night as being quite eerie because it's very silent and almost creepy. Perhaps, she told herself, this was what they called the witching hour. The witching hour, somebody had once whispered to her, was a special moment in the middle of the night when every child and every grown-up was in a deep, deep sleep, and all the dark things came out from hiding and had the world to themselves. So I wonder what Roald Dahl means here by dark things. I wonder if you can come up with some ideas. The moonbeam was brighter than ever on Sophie's pillow. She decided to get out of bed and close the gap in the curtains. You got punished if you were caught out of bed after lights out. Even if you said you had to go to the lavatory, that was not accepted as an excuse, and they punished you just the same. I wonder who they might be. Have a think, because Sophie is living in, or she is currently in a dormitory. So it's a big room with lots of beds, for people to sleep in, and they're all children. So where do you think she might be where she could be getting punished? But there was no one about now. Sophie was sure of that. She reached out for her glasses that lay on the chair beside her bed. They had steel rims, remember frames, and very thick lenses, and you could hardly see a thing without them. She put them on, then she slipped out of bed and tiptoed over to the window. When she reached the curtain, Sophie hesitated. Think about why she might hesitate here. She longed to duck underneath them and lean out of the window to see what the world looked like now that the witching hour was at hand. She listened again. Everywhere it was deathly still. The longing to look out became so strong she couldn't resist it. Quickly, she ducked under the curtains and leaned out of the window. In the silvery moonlight, the village street she knew so well seemed completely different. The houses looked bent and crooked like houses in a fairy tale. Everything was pale and ghostly and milky white. Across the road she could see Mrs. Rance's shop where you bought buttons and wool and bits of elastic. It didn't look real. There was something dim and misty about that too. Sophie allowed her eye to travel further and further down the street. Suddenly, she froze. There was something coming up the street on the opposite side. It was something black, something tall and black, something very tall and very black and very thin. Okay, and the reason that it might be described as being something black is probably because it's a shadow in the distance to her still. So now that we have read through the text, I am going to give you a few examples of how to answer inference questions before I go through the questions with you. So, first question. A brilliant moonbeam was slanting through on page 1. Which word is closest in meaning to brilliant? And I've got 4 options there. I've got fantastic, amazing, bright, or kind. So, as always, I'm going to follow my steps. First step is to underline any key words in the question. So I'm going to get my handy ruler out. What could the keywords be in that question? I think brilliant moonbeam and the word brilliant. That's what I'm looking for. So I'm going to go back and scan the text, that's step 2, for those keywords. So I can see, so remember I said sometimes the keywords won't be there. Luckily, it is in this instance. So a brilliant moonbeam. Now I've got to read around the key phrase for my next step. So I've underlined the keywords in my question. I've found the keywords in the text. And now I'm going to read around that keyword to see whether I can get my answer. A brilliant moonbeam was slanting through a gap in the curtains. It was shining right onto her pillow. So that word shining makes me think of something very bright. So I'm going to go for option 3, which is bright, and I'm just going to circle that. Okay, let's do one together. Not the tiniest sound could be heard anywhere, again on page 1. So again, the question is asking me which word is closest in meaning to tiniest. So which word sort of means the same? I've got 4 options again. I've got narrow, loud, short, or quiet. So again, underlining keywords in my question is my first step. So have a talk to yourself or your partner. What word would you underline? Okay, hopefully you went for the same as me and you would go for tiniest sound, tiniest, because that's the word I'm looking to find the same meaning of. So my second step is to skim and scan text and see if I can find that keyword or something similar to it. So again, you can do the same while I also try to look for that key word. So remember, scanning just means reading very quickly, not really taking it in until you find that keyword. And I have found it here. Not the tiniest sound could be heard anywhere. My third step is to read around that keyword and that phrase. So, not the tiniest sound could be heard anywhere. Sophie had never known such a silence. Okay, so that word silence makes me think that things are quiet. So the word I would go for, meaning, the word that is closest in meaning to tiniest is quiet. Okay, so one more to go through together. The moon was like a silver blade slicing through the room. Again, on page 1, which word is closest in meaning to slicing? Would you go for chopping, shining, cutting, or folding? So again, number 1, first step, underline any keywords in that question. So I'm going to give you 5 seconds to think about which word you would underline and see all words, and are they the same as mine? Okay, I think I would go for, well, definitely slicing, but also the idea of a silver blade. That seems quite interesting. So now that I have those keywords, my second step is to skim and scan in that section of text for the key words. So again, I'm going to give you some time to find it, and I will then underline it when I have. Okay, I can see scanning. Sophie, close your eyes. No, tight heart, doze off. No, it's no good. The moonbeam was like a silver blade. Here we go. Was like a silver blade slicing through the room onto her face. So read around those keywords and phrases and have a bit more of a think. Which word means the closest to slicing? Chopping, shining, cutting, or folding? Well, the fact that it says blade, and blade makes me think of like something slicing through or like snipping through. I think I'm going to go for cutting because scissors have blades. And that's my answer. Hopefully you got the same. Chopping, I see why some people may have gone through that, but chopping is like a repetitive kind of movement, so probably not the same. I think the moonbeam kind of was like one solid stroke of light. Okay, so now time for your questions. Now you don't have a worksheet for this, but what I'm going to do is give you a maximum of 2 questions, give you some time to answer those, and then my next slide is going to be the answers. So what I would recommend doing is listen to me read them out to you, pause the video, and then press play when you are ready for me to go through the answers. I will give you a slight pause, but it's best to pause the video yourself. So first question, have your pen and paper ready. Number 1. The house was absolutely silent. Why was the house silent? Page 1. Question 2. How can you tell that Sophie was trying to be quiet? Page 2. So pause the video, write your answers, and then press play when you are ready to go through the answers. But I will give a 10-second pause here now, just in case. Okay, so time for your answers. So hopefully you're pressing play because you have got your answers ready. So number 1, the house was absolutely silent because everybody was asleep. Number 2, how can we tell that Sophie was trying to be quiet? Because she slipped out of bed, which is quite a quick, sudden movement, and tiptoed. Tiptoed was the important bit there because that means she was being really gentle with her footsteps. Okay, let's go on to the next 2 questions. Question 3. So again, I'm going to read the questions. You pause the video, but I will give a pause just in case. Number 3, which word is closest in meaning to hesitated? Page 2. Is it continued, opened, paused, or hid? Which answer would you go for? And the number 4, how can you tell that Sophie was interested in looking outside? Page 2. So pause the video, write your answers, and press play when you are ready. But I will pause a little bit now just to be on the safe side. Okay, I'm going to go through the answers, so hopefully you have written them or you remember to pause the video. Okay, so the number 3, the word that is closest in meaning to hesitated is paused, and you should have known that anyway from your vocabulary. Number 4, how can you tell that Sophie was interested in looking outside? I know this because in the text it says, the longing to look out became so strong she couldn't resist it. Okay, so pause the video if you want some time to go through your answers, but press play or continue playing because I'm going to go through the next few. Number 5, which 2 words tell you that the houses were not straight? Page 3. So you just need to write 2 words there. And then number 6, why has the author used, I should say, italics, so that slanty writing, when writing about the figure hiding in the shadows? Page 3. So again, pause the video, take some time to write your answers, and press play when you are ready to go through them. Okay, fair warning that I'm going to go into the answers now, so press pause again if you're not ready. Remember, the reason I'm going through this a little bit quickly is because you have all the time you need to pause the video yourself. So question number 5, the 2 words that tell you that the houses were not straight were bent and crooked. Again, we knew that from our vocabulary starters. And number 6, why the author used italics when writing about the figure hiding in the shadows. It was to create suspense, sort of that feeling of waiting for something to happen and make us wonder what's going to happen next. Sort of like a cliffhanger almost. If you wrote something like that, absolutely fine. So that's a good thing to note as well, actually. If you didn't write exactly what I did, but it's the same idea, upload to Seesaw anyway. We will give you feedback, but chances are it is absolutely fine. Okay, so well done for those 6 questions. If you would like, there is an optional challenge. So listen to it anyway, because you may feel like you want to do this. Challenge, it's sort of like the big question, but not as long. Why do you think that Sophie did not run away from the window? So I've given you a sentence starter here and a few ideas. I think that Sophie did not run away from the window because, why? Maybe you have a reason. Is it because she was bored? Maybe it's because she was feeling curious and really wanted to see what was going on. Maybe because she's really brave and bold, or maybe your own ideas. So again, optional if you would like to do that. If you do the challenge, I would really love to see full sentences and at least 2 or 3 sentences to answer that. So very well done. And I will see you, I think, next week now for your guided reading, because tomorrow is going to be your tomorrow is going to be your big question with Miss Williams. So very well done, and I will see you all very soon.